in all the reading that I was doing, I did not find that a healthy microbiome was always characterized by the presence of certain species. That it was never that prescriptive. That exactly who was in what was highly variable, which is probably understandable given that they're all coming from different environments, and that the health really was just about diversity. I would say, um, apart from making sure you have some Bacteroides in there or Lactobacillus or some other carb fermenting immune modulating species, that a healthy microbiome is otherwise really hard to sort of define in terms of particular organisms. It was even surprising to me looking through the research to find that a healthy microbiome was not defined by the absence of pathogens. That you can have Clostridium, for example. Clostridium featured in microbiomes that were considered healthy. So this absence of pathogenic organisms was not was not a was not even a feature of how they were defining healthy microbiomes. So I don't find it's a very prescriptive thing, and I think it's probably I'm a fan of whole things and trying not to bioengineer too many different things, but just to take what's already there and make use of it. I mean, animals just go around eating soil when they're young. What's interesting is a lot of these allergic dogs that I've talked about, the truly allergic dogs that, it's not just a big white pile of sugar that's their problem. It's their disrupted their immune system, and the immune system disrupted because apparently they have the wrong species. Those dogs eat soil. They go out and snack on soil from plant pots, etc. It's like they know there's a microbiome issue and they're trying to address it. So I think that it's always going to be easier to solve complex problems with complex solutions. So when I talk about lactobacillus, I don't even mean only lactobacillus. I just mean it should figure prominently. And if you could have a community that's of organisms that have already been kind of living together and that themselves constitute a little tiny balanced microbial ecosystem, I would bet that supplement would work better than just cultured lactobacillus from a lab. That would just be my take on it, because you have I understand the body is very complex, but rather than that befuddling me, instead I just say, great, it's a complex ecosystem, and the solution is complex treatments, things with complex effects. So whole foods, can't get more complex than that. Whole herbal extracts, can't get more complex than that. Multiple plants that traditions have taught us to use together for maximum benefit, can't get more complex than that. Like, to just layer stuff in. A healthy ecosystem is defined by its species diversity. A healthy body is defined by probably the sheer number of chemical compounds that are in there interacting. When we eat processed foods, we're eating tiny little bags of chemicals, of lots of chemicals, but just tiny, very little diversity. And slowly, I think they kind of cripple our systems. Our bodies become less diverse, and they become more unstable. There's a physicist, I know you got to leave, but there's a physicist called Fritjof Capra. I don't know if you've heard of his name. Fritjof Capra, Capra. One of the most fascinating books I've ever read was called The Web of Life by Fritjof Capra. And it takes a good hard look at the science of complexity as it relates to biology. And I put down that book finally understanding why these whole things work better.
That's beautiful. No, I mean I'm getting loud and clear this concept, and you've articulated it beautifully. And complex problems being taken care of by complex solutions. And you've said that whole foods are the most complex of them all, which I think is brilliant. And you said that if we look at each individual food, you use the example of broccoli, is perfectly balanced in being itself. So if you use a whole piece of broccoli, then you're getting its absolute perfect balance for it, and you're bringing, and this is something that makes a lot of sense to me. By the way, I had many years ago, I had a yellow lab named Owen, and he suffered from he fed a whole raw food his whole life, taught by the one and the only Ian Billinghurst, and he still had issues, probably something genetically, and I was able to manage it with blue chlorum and xanthium quite easily. So kudos to you for putting out
Yeah.
that
Well, I'm
supplement.
glad that it worked out. That's great. Proof is in the
Yeah.
pudding, so
Yep.
to speak.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.